Hello, my creative friends, and welcome to this optional viewing episode of The Daily Prompt. This is my personal vlog entry, if you're new around here, for the 2.5 months or so, nearly 3 months, that I've been doing this Daily Prompt series. Once a week on Sundays, I do a personal entry where this isn't really for you, this is for me, so that I can watch this all back later at some future point and sort of see the progression, the journey, sort of like a personal diary entry. My feelings on the vlogging process, my feelings on how it's all sort of moving forward, and just sort of pull it back a bit and just introspect a little bit. So it's a little bit of navel gazing, so I apologize for that. If you're not interested in that sort of thing, you don't have to watch these. This is not. I feel like there always tends to be something valuable in them. I don't just sort of talk to myself to hear myself talk. I have this compulsion to try to give value, to try to, frame everything in a way that's gonna help a potential viewer sort of think. Take something away from it and think differently about their own journey and their own perspective. So I know that there are several people who watch this who tell me that that they like watching these more than the other ones, which is a little disturbing. Does that mean that I'm inauthentic in the other ones? I feel like I'm not. Anyway. It's neither here nor there. So if you haven't been watching the show, or future self, if you're just watching these in order, this is the point at which a couple of episodes ago I made the definitive decision that had been weighing on my mind for a couple of weeks to not do the Daily Prompt as a daily series anymore. So one of my big challenges is really, at the end of the day, it really comes down to time and what we put our time into. I feel like the goal of building an indie film studio, which starts, if we're bootstrapping it the way that I'm intending to do, with the no budget film projects, I feel like all of the energy needs to go into that, and the Daily Prompt, just doing the show, just chews up too much time. Even when I batch it into, I can never batch these things into a single day, so I can never do all 7 episodes in one day. They tend to spread out over 2 or even 3 days, so it's just not a sustainable thing. It's not a sustainable thing without the additional, without the resources that I need. So I'm torn on this as well, because part of me is like, just power through and do an episode every day so that you have the continuity of that. I want to be able to look back at all this in 5 years and see a video every single day. Like that to me would be the most powerful legacy. At the end of the day, the Daily Prompt is not about it's not about the people watching today. It's not about the teaching people. It's not about on one level it is about those things, but ultimately the big picture of it really is, I'm going to build this film studio, and I want to have documentation of the entire journey from the beginning, from the decision to build the independent film studio all the way through to it exists. So I really kind of wanted to have that one video every day thing. Part of me is really sort of conflicted about scaling it all back, and but at the end of the day, I'm just not. It's just I mentioned in one of the videos this week that this Gary V model of creating sort of a big piece of content and then pulling micro content from that and putting that out on social media in its native format. And this idea is, I maintain this is the right idea. This is the right idea for me, for this project, for building the independent film studio. That is the way I'm going to do this. The problem is just the workload of it is, it doesn't seem like much. I'm turning on a camera, I'm talking for 10 minutes, sometimes half an hour, and then taking that, digitizing that, popping it into the timeline, editing it, fine-tuning the beginning and the end, changing the title on it, exporting it out, uploading it, putting all the details and content and stuff on YouTube, on Facebook, scheduling it, if you're batch processing it. It's just like, it really shouldn't take that much time, and it kind of does, and it kind of doesn't. But it takes so there are only so many hours in the day. You have the family thing. I've got a kid, and who's I want to spend time with the kid, and there's only a few hours that he's awake, so it's like you got to spend that time. And so I don't know. It's just it's like there's a point at which I guess it hits you. Or that it gets driven home. Not that it's a new revelation, but just that it gets driven home that to actually achieve a big goal requires an efficient use of time. It requires that we carve out this limited sliver that all of us have. I have some sort of personal stuff that's sort of plopped in my lap. That I'm responding to, and that's taking a chunk of time. There's the chunk of time for family. There's the chunk of time for just maintaining the business and helping writers go through the process and all that kind of stuff. There's what's left is some time for this. The time to sort of turn it all into the social media stuff. You need other people on board. And when I sat down to do all this, the whole idea was that we were going to do this, me talking to camera like this, for probably 2 to 3 months. And then there'd be volunteers, or there would be people joining the system. And so, because I always want to make sure that when people join Fast Screenplay, every dollar goes right back into this whole operation, right? So there's a sliver of that amount of money would go into this, right? To sort of build and expand this, which builds and expands the film studio, the films themselves, which makes, the whole thing is synergistic in that way. And the fact that it hasn't, the fact that it just has, like, it, look, I've said this before. I don't want to be a broken record, but it's perplexing to me that it hasn't. And look, I just could really suck at the social media thing. I could really suck at the doing this. Maybe my tags are all wrong. Maybe the SEO isn't working. I'm not putting the right titles on these things, and so they're not getting the organic reach. Or people flicking past them have no real reason to click on them because I have a crappy thumbnail. There's so many variables to making this thing work in its own right. There's something that's not shareable about these. There's some reason why people are not sharing these videos or saying, hey, screenwriting community, you gotta watch what this guy's doing. I can't go onto a screenwriting forum and talk about this show, because if I do that, I'm by definition spamming that forum. I'm self-promoting. It's for my benefit. If someone else goes on and they say, "Oh my God, I've been writing screenplays for X number of time, and here's this great show that I found," or "Hey, this guy says fill in the blank, whatever I talked about in that episode. What do you guys think of that?" And it draws more people to it. Well, that's something I can't do. I would need the viewers to do that. I can't really even request it because it's spammy and inorganic. I want this, and maybe this is my big problem throughout, is that I want it to be built in a way that's internally consistent, that has integrity, right? Like I don't want to use nefarious techniques to drive sales to build it that way. I want it to be built on its own merits. I want it to be built on the fact that it's the right thing. It hasn't happened that way, and it hasn't happened that way for years. It could come down to something as simple as calling the thing Fast Screenplay. It just puts up people's internal resistance to it because it sounds gimmicky, but it's the right name. So what do you do? I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know. That's weird. I, I'm a big believer in taking full responsibility for your own life, and not, if I'm not getting the results that I want, I'm never going to blame a viewer. I'm never going to blame the writers. I'm always going to make the basic assumption that I'm not doing something quite right. It unfortunately makes the whole thing this puzzle, and it's like for a decade now since starting the fast screenplay thing, like it's like this puzzle that I can't figure out how to put the pieces in the right place. It's intriguing. And again, like I know a lot of people send me emails and stuff after watching these videos, and they're like, "Oh, don't fret, it's okay. We're behind you," that kind of thing. And I certainly appreciate all that. I just like to express this stuff because I want to capture at the end of the day, I want to capture the challenge of this so that when I build it, when the thing exists, a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, when we get there, we can look back on this and say, oh, hey, look, that struggle that I think everybody goes through was necessary. It was a part of it. By expressing these things, my lamentations, my frustrations, I'm putting that out there in part because it enables it to get out of my brain, and I can sort of then chew on it and try to figure out the next piece, or figure out maybe how to position the piece in a way that's different to what I thought. I think it's necessary to do that, and my hope is that by doing this kind of a daily Dear Diary kind of a thing once a week, my hope is that I lead by example, and that it encourages writers who might be sticking around for these introspective episodes to do the same thing, because it's so helpful. It's so well, I don't know. Maybe it's not helpful because I'm still trying to figure out the puzzle. At the end of the day, if you have any big ambition, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge. The hubris that makes us think that, hey, I want to write a movie and I want to make, I want to make something that someone's going to invest $100 million into, and just because I can think it, like the hubris of that is astounding, right? So like it should be difficult. It should take time to develop the ability to do that. So I have no qualms, or I'm not upset about any of that stuff, and I hope that it's clear, people who might be watching this, that I'm expressing this to capture it, not to complain about it. I'm still going to get where I'm trying to go. So the whole idea of changing the daily prompt up, I don't even see a break in continuity, by the way. I'm intending for there not to be a single week that goes by without me uploading some sort of video. My thought right now is to do 3 episodes a week, because my thought right now is to do Mindset Monday style episode, because I think it's important to keep motivating writers. I think if there's one through line in what I do and what I've built, it is my objective is to ensure that writers don't quit. Because as long as writers continue to take action, continue to try to improve, continue to keep moving forward, we're going to get closer to the goal that I have of making lots and lots and lots and lots of movies is still feasible, right? As soon as writers quit, like part of me feels like, well, that's one step backwards. That's one less voice to possibly create that story. So to me, it's always about, how do I get writers to the finish line? How do I get writers to the finish line? And I forgot what got me on this train of thought. So to me, it's like, the Mindset Monday thing is really, I think, maybe kind of the core of what I'm about. So, when it comes to like the technique and the sort of designing stories and building screenplays and, what story is about, and we get into these conversations in the YouTube comment section about, the specifics of story dynamics and how it works, and, different points of view on that kind of stuff. It's just like, that's not what I'm about. I'm not about telling you how to write your story. I'm not about telling you what to put where on the page. That's not what I do. I'm about helping you get to the finish line in the way that's unique to you. And so anyway, I think Mindset Monday, or that type of a not motivation, but really perspective, is kind of core and central to who I am. So I feel like I'd want to do one of those a week. I feel like I want to do one Q&A show a week, just because I just want to keep that dialogue open and answer whatever questions come up. We're not getting too many specific questions at the moment. So there are still plenty of questions to dig back through from earlier, but it doesn't seem like people are that engaged with it at the moment. But maybe just do it once a week and keep building it, and then some sort of update each week about how the film's coming along, how the film studio is coming along, how this is all progressing. I think if I had a volunteer videographer, someone who could shoot and go off and edit and turn these into magical episodes every day, or multiple people, so that workload could get spread over multiple people. I think if that were in place, I would return immediately to a daily thing here. I think if once we got in enough resources, money, to hire people to do that very thing, I think my big challenge is that I don't know if that would be the first place to put the resources. I think it's super important, and I think it would be. So I wanted to build the social media channels. I wanted to build Instagram. I wanted to build up Facebook. Get active communities on those places. I wanted to build up LinkedIn. If there were writers who wanted to volunteer to help me turn a lot of this content into articles for LinkedIn or for a blog, that would be like awesome. But nobody's stepping forward on that, so I just don't have the time to do it. So I feel like there's enough content from just what I've done so far on the Daily Prompt that we could fill the Instagram feed for a year plus, probably year and a half, just with what we've done so far on the Daily Prompt. So on some level, don't really even necessarily need to do any more of these episodes in order to continue building out the social channels, but I don't have the time to do that. It's very frustrating because I can see how that piece fits into the building of the whole thing. So it's that catch-22 of like, if you want to build it from the ground up, you have to build it from the ground up. And if you build it from the ground up, you don't want to like take resources from somewhere else and feed it. You want it to grow of its own. And so that becomes this, this cycle. You need this for that to happen, and you need that to happen in order for that. So you're back to square one. I don't know. It's just interesting. So where I'm at the moment really is, I'm super excited about the film. I really feel like I finally understand what the not necessarily the whole story is, but what the crux of the story is. For the first film, I'm super excited about making it for nothing, because I can't wait to show people that if you can make something great or intriguing, at least with nothing, that alone will serve your goals. That alone will attract the audience. So I can't wait to get into that. I'm very, very excited. I hope there will be behind the scenes for it. I'm trying to imagine if there's no videographer, there's nobody who wants to volunteer, we don't have the resource to pay for it. Like, I can see the first movie, ironically, being one that doesn't have that behind the scenes crew behind it. So all of the thing that I want the show to be could be missed entirely on arguably the most important of the projects, the first one, because it's the one that will most closely reflect what people watching their situation would be. How do you go out and you make that first one? Once you've already got some success behind you, once you've already got some revenue coming in from the first film, then it's easier to make the next film because you've got that revenue coming in, right? But to truly bootstrap from nothing, like that's the one I really want to document. I'm at this point, just because of sort of how this has gone so far, I can imagine that we start making that film kind of without that. And that would be unfortunate, I think. So anyway, we'll see how we go. It's still early. I'm going to sort of I need by pulling back on the daily prompt, it will give me, I can take some of that time and apply it towards the film, towards fast screenplay, sort of doing more traditional marketing of fast screenplay, to bring in revenue to keep this train going, to possibly hire the videographer, whatever. And just so it's really just a matter of, at this point, shifting around the time priorities, juggling also the personal stuff. And so it's interesting. If I could make it work, I would have someone walk through the door and go, I want to help you with this. And like literally we would stay on as a daily show all the way. So if it's not, and it's not, this probably won't be, probably be those 3 episodes a week, a mindset show, a Q&A, and an update. If it's not, then it'll scale back as I focus those energies on the other things to bring in the resources from the other places that are still consistent with the big picture goals. So it's really all about ultimately being true to what I'm saying. Like I always want to be able to look the audience or a writer in the eyes and say, this is what I believe. I'm putting this out there. Everything that I'm doing is to show you that this, what I believe, is accurate. And so everything I'm doing is going to be internally consistent with that. I think that's important because I think if you perceive the whole thing as a legacy project, if you perceive the daily prompt or daily videos, or if it's probably going to have to change names because daily prompt doesn't make sense if it's not daily. If you perceive all that from the standpoint of what is it going to look like 5 years from now after we've built the thing, I want to make sure that there's no sort of point along the way and go, yeah, but you cheated there because you did this. I maintain that this would be a fantastic investment for some high net worth individual who watches these and goes, I'm putting my money on that horse. I have one of the things I haven't shared on the show and probably won't. I came close to sharing it. I may have shared it or briefly touched on it, but I haven't gone into detail. I have a very specific business model for the other end of it, the distribution end of it, for multiple projects. Like I have a very clear plan on how the money works. Once the film studio is built, it's not really just about like randomly making movie after movie. Like I have a plan for it all. And like if there was a high net worth individual who's going, I want to put my money on that horse, there would be a way to show them you could make a lot of money out of doing this, right? And it's not off of the backs of writers, it's off of the films that we make. And the problem is that if I were to even broach that or even go there, even try to reach out to people that I know who know these people or try to, get investment in, that in itself is undercutting the argument. Like the first movie has to be made with nothing, with zero, as close to zero as we can possibly get. Like if it ends up costing $1,000 or $1,500 or something, like that's going to be a problem. Like not a problem, but I'm going to have to say, hey, in the end, this costs $1,500. So then I'm not actually proving anyone can make a movie with zero and bootstrap into this film studio, right? I'm saying, well, you kind of have to start with $1,500. So for that same basic reason, like I couldn't reach out to an investor and say, or, put together a business plan and say, hey, here's how, if it was doing a traditional sort of movie financing thing, that's what you do. You'd put the package together and you'd go out and you'd pitch the investors, or, contact your accountants and lawyers and people that and you say, hey, we want to reach out to your network and we've got this thing and you invest this much and you're going to get this equity stake and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, that would be in some ways so much easier. But it would not be proving the concept. And so it's the proving the concept thing that's the challenge. And I don't know that, part of me's thinking, well, if I'm having to already scale back on the daily prompt thing, and if I'm not getting volunteers, if I'm not already bringing in interest in what I'm building, if people aren't jumping on board, then am I really right to say that this is possible? I'm going to keep fighting for it because I believe in it, and because I believe that that's I believe it's true. I maintain that it's the way to go. It's the way of the future. And it's just harder than it's hard because I'm trying to build something really big out of it. So I think it's going to be essential, though, that I do it this way, so that it will always be something that can be looked back on and seen in context. It's like watching the origin story of a superhero character, and you go, well, wait a second, they weren't really orphaned as a child. They were given a trust fund and able to do whatever they want. How are they a superhero? Like, it's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't jibe with the whole, I was an orphan, So anyway, I'm probably rambling at this point. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I'm going to probably, I don't know, I'm probably going to have to change or morph the way these are done in the future, because if every third video is one of these, you're going to be like, this channel sucks. So we'll see how it all morphs. But anyway, I thank you for sticking with me, and for if you're watching these, or if you're still watching the channel, I thank you for very much. I'm so appreciative of everyone who is subscribed, everyone who comments, everyone who likes these videos, particularly the few people that share these videos. I thank you immensely. Spread the word. This is not the end. I'm not stopping this. I'm just scaling back so that I can why producers don't teach. We don't have time. So it's like I'm trying to squeeze this into as little time as possible and still provide some value for you and some continuity for the historical legacy of the project. So that's kind of where we're at. So anyway, be sure to subscribe and click the bell, because you'll need the bell now, because you'll need to be notified when sporadic episodes come up. I'll try to start with 3 episodes a week this week. If I don't get there, please don't be upset. It's simply a time crunch thing, and I will try to make up for it by offering 3 the next week. But I thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, even though not much is happening at the moment. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. Share and like and all that kind of thing. And I thank you for watching, and have a wonderful weekend. If you're going to take action in your writing, please do so, because it's essential to keep moving forward to get where you're trying to go. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. I think tomorrow. We'll see. Thanks for watching.